Hi, so in this screencast I'm going to be showing you how to edit the implementation that we have of the nearest neighbors algorithm in C++, so that we're using some more of the as the Armadillo C++ template library functionality. So I mean, one of the things that the that the Armadillo library provides is this nice sorting feature. So um, looking at this, we have sort index. So returns a vector which describes the sorted order of the elements of X, i.e. it contains the indices of the elements of X, right? So that's pretty much exactly what we want when we're doing the nearest neighbors computation. And so let's see if that, if we can use that and if that could simplify our code. Because here what we have in our nearest neighbors implementation is we have this kind of big standard sort block, which is, you know, the standard library's way of sorting a vector and or here an array, and it's working, but you know we have to define this like anonymous function for comparing the elements, and it's kind of a pain. So it would be nice if we could kind of just replace this thing by one line of code, and we would avoid a memory allocation. Well, well, yeah, maybe not. So wait, so here, yeah, I mean it's a function that's called on one of these on ARMA objects, and it's returning another vector. So I guess it must be doing some kind of dynamic dynamic memory allocation. So, but anyways, we could try to use that instead. It would simplify the code, but it may introduce some overhead with the memory allocation. So if we wanted to do that, you know, what we would do basically is here we would get rid of this sorted index vec, and we would you know, so that sorted index pointer here, we would need to, you know, get rid of that as an argument, you know, edit the corresponding header file. So the header file says that we have this int pointer argument, just getting rid of it. Get rid of that argument from where we call that subroutine down here. Let's get rid of the sorted index, right? And then after that, you know, get rid of this sort and replace it by, here, get rid of that guy. And so here now we have all of those distances computed, but they're in a yeah, they're in this distance pointer thing, whereas this thing needs to have a arma vec, right? So let's see if we can do that. Let's delete all of these unnecessary comments. So here we have arma vec distance pointer as distance vec, initializing that using the distance pointer. The size should be sorry, the number of training data points in row. False, true. And then what we can do is we can use stable or sort index distance vec and we should be able to get Arma IVEC back, right? UVEC. Output vector must have the type UVECT. So let's see that. So UVEC, it's unsigned integers. Maybe, I wonder if that will still work with our code. But anyway, that one line can be used to basically replace this whole called standard sort. So that would be kind of like the, you know, advantage of using this kind of thing, just to kind of simplify the code. So the so Arma UVEC, we have to call this sorted index. So let's call it sorted index vec. And so here we're going to be accessing sorted index vec to get the index of the right guy. So I think we've done most of the modifications we need. Let's see if there's any compilation errors when we go back to compile that guy. So it actually did compile, seems to have installed, and that that is working very well. I'm kind of surprised that it works so well. So one of the arguments you can give this sort index thing is this sort direction, and so it's either ascend or descend. By default, ascend is used, so that means it's, you know, sorting by the smallest distance first, and then the largest distance. That's exactly what we want. If we change this to descend, you know, the test should not pass, because now we're using the farthest point away for making the prediction. That's not the correct definition of the nearest neighbors model. And so, yeah, you see that here, in this case, the code actually compiles, right, and the package installs. It's done installing here. But then when we run the test here, it says test failed, no errors for one nearest neighbor prediction on train set. So that's because we're not making the right predictions, because we sorted in descending order rather than ascending order. So if we, you know, if we write ascend there, that's the same thing as omitting that altogether, and that'll give the right answer, just like we had before. So yeah, again, that's just one of the nice functions that the Armadillo template library provides to kind of simplify your code. I mean, in this instance, I mean, it did simplify our code, but it did make the code a little bit less efficient, because what's going on under the hood now is that every time for every test data point, we're doing a dynamic memory allocation to get those unsigned integers to sort this sorted index vec here. Whereas in the previous version, what we had was we had this this dynamic memory allocation that was happening just once in this where was it? It's not here. It's down here, right? So we're having just a dynamic memory allocation that happened just once per, actually, you know, in this version we're using OpenMP, so it's the dynamic memory allocation here is happening once for every processor, every thread that's running this code. And but, you know, by doing this refactoring, now we're not just doing it once for every thread, we're doing it several times in every thread. Actually, every time we have a new test data point, we're doing this dynamic memory allocation. So it should be a little bit less efficient. I mean, no difference. I probably no big differences in the small data that we're looking at, but that may be something that you consider when you're writing your own code. Careful about these template libraries, because they give you quite a lot of convenience, but maybe they I mean, you should be aware about how they're allocating memory. You know, when you're providing the pointers yourself, you know exactly where the memory is being allocated. So thanks for listening, and I hope you learned a little bit about features of the Armadillo template library.